Bigfoot Rose, this is a dream come true!
The mansion's emergency alarm screamed through the night as three tiny bodies lay motionless on the nursery floor. Emma, Lily, and Jackson, the famous Montgomery triplets, weren't breathing. Their lips had turned blue. Their small chests were still. The nanny who'd cared for them for 2 years stood frozen in shock, her phone trembling in her hand as she dialed 911. Billionaire Daniel Montgomery burst through the door, his face white with terror as he dropped to his knees beside his dying children. The doctors had said it was impossible to save all three. Their conditions were too severe, happening too fast. But then Maya Brooks, the new 24-year-old maid who'd only started working there 3 days ago, did something so dangerous and so completely against every rule that if it failed, she'd spend the rest of her life in prison. She reached into her bag and pulled out something that would either save 3 lives or end her own. What happened in the next 60 seconds would change everything. 3 months earlier, the Montgomery mansion in Connecticut gleamed like a palace. 20 bedrooms, indoor pool, tennis courts, and a staff of 12 people who kept everything running perfectly. Daniel Montgomery owned half the tech companies in America, his apps and software in nearly every phone and computer on the planet. At 42, he had everything money could buy. Everything except peace. His wife, Victoria, had died giving birth to the triplets 2 years ago. The delivery had complications. She'd lost too much blood, her heart had stopped, and despite the best doctors and the most expensive hospital, she never woke up. Daniel had gained 3 children and lost the love of his life in the same terrible hour. He'd tried to be both parents, he really had, but running a billion-dollar empire while raising 3 babies alone was impossible. So he'd hired the best nannies, the most qualified specialists, spent whatever it took to give his children the perfect life. Mrs. Helen Cartwright had been their main nanny since birth. She was 63, British, and ran the nursery like a military operation. Schedules for everything: feeding times, nap times, play times, bath times. The triplets' lives were organized down to the minute. Efficient, yes, but cold. The triplets were beautiful children. Emma had her mother's dark curls and serious gray eyes. Lily was smaller, with straight blonde hair and a shy smile. Jackson, the only boy, had his father's strong features and curious green eyes. But something was wrong with all 3 of them. They were sick, constantly sick. Ear infections, stomach problems, fevers that wouldn't break, mysterious rashes that doctors couldn't explain. They'd been hospitalized 4 times in 2 years. Medical bills that would bankrupt normal families, though money meant nothing to Daniel. He'd pay anything, do anything, to make his children healthy. But nothing worked. The best pediatricians in the country had examined them. Specialists flew in from Europe and Asia, test after test after test. And every doctor said the same frustrating thing: we can't find anything specifically wrong. Their immune systems are just weak. They'll probably grow out of it. But they weren't growing out of it. They were getting worse. Mrs. Cartwright blamed it on genetics. Their mother was fragile, she'd say in her clipped accent. Died in childbirth. Weak constitution passed to the children. Daniel hated when she said that. Victoria hadn't been weak. She'd been strong and kind and full of life. Her death wasn't weakness, it was tragedy. 2 weeks ago, Mrs. Cartwright had announced she was retiring. "I'm getting too old for this, Mr. Montgomery," she'd said. "These children need more than I can give. They need—" She'd paused, searching for words. "Warmth. Something I've never been good at providing." It was the most honest thing she'd ever said. Daniel had scrambled to find a replacement. Posted job listings, interviewed candidates, but everyone seemed wrong. Too strict or too careless. Too young or too inexperienced. He was desperate, running out of options, when Maya Brooks walked into his office. She was 24, black, with intelligent dark eyes and hair pulled back in simple braids. She wore a modest gray dress, clearly her best outfit, and carried a folder with her resume and references. "I'm probably not what you're looking for," Maya said honestly. "I don't have fancy certifications or years of experience with rich families, but I grew up taking care of my 5 younger siblings while my mom worked 3 jobs. I know how to love children when life gets hard." Something in her directness appealed to Daniel. No pretending, no trying to impress him. Just truth. "Why do you want this job?" he asked. Maya hesitated, then answered carefully. My youngest brother has sickle cell disease. I spent my teenage years learning about medical conditions, working with doctors, understanding how to care for someone fragile. Your job posting mentioned your children have health issues. I think I could help. The previous nanny ran things very strictly. Schedules, routines, rules. Rules are important, Maya agreed. But love matters more. Sick children need both. Daniel hired her on the spot. Maya moved into the small staff quarters on the third floor. Her room was simple but comfortable, nothing like the tiny apartment she'd shared with her family, where 7 people lived in 3 rooms. Her first day, Mrs. Cartwright gave her the complete rundown. Wake the triplets at 7. Breakfast at 7:30, specific foods, specific portions. Educational activities from 9 to 10. Outdoor time, weather permitting, from 10 to 11. Lunch at noon. Nap from 1 to 3. More activities. Dinner at 6. Bath at 7. Bed at 8. No deviation. The children are used to routine, Mrs. Cartwright explained. Don't disrupt it. But when Maya met the triplets, she understood immediately why they were sick. They weren't living. They were just existing. Emma sat in the corner of the playroom with a book she couldn't read yet, her face blank. Lily played with blocks, building and knocking down the same tower over and over. No joy in it. Jackson stared out the window, his small shoulders slumped. They barely looked at Maya when she introduced herself. Mrs. Cartwright had trained them not to expect affection from caregivers. That first night, after the triplets were in bed and Mrs. Cartwright had finally left, Maya sat in her room thinking about her own childhood. They'd been poor, so poor that sometimes dinner was just rice and beans for a week straight. But they'd had love, laughter, her mother singing while she cooked, siblings piling into one bed to tell stories before sleep. These children had every toy, every book, every material thing imaginable, but no warmth, no spontaneous hugs, no one singing them silly songs or playing just for fun. Maya made a decision that night. She wasn't going to follow Mrs. Cartwright's rules. She was going to love these children the way they deserved. The next morning, she woke the triplets at 7 as scheduled. But instead of the rigid breakfast routine, she made it fun. She cut their toast into funny shapes. She made silly voices for each kind of fruit. She let them help pour their own juice, even though they spilled some. For the first time, Lily giggled. During educational activities, Maya ignored the flashcards Mrs. Cartwright had left. Instead, she built a blanket fort, and they played pretend. Emma became a brave knight. Lily was a princess. Jackson was a dragon, a friendly one, who protected the castle instead of attacking it. They played for 2 hours straight. No schedule, just pure, joyful playing. At lunch, Jackson ate more than he had in weeks, too happy to remember he usually didn't like vegetables. Daniel came home that evening and froze in the doorway. His children were laughing. Actually laughing, a sound he'd rarely heard. They were having a dance party in the playroom, Maya playing music on her phone, all 4 of them jumping around without a care in the world. Emma saw him first. "Daddy, dance with us." Daniel couldn't remember the last time one of his children had invited him to do anything. He put down his briefcase and joined them, feeling ridiculous but also more alive than he had in months. That night, after the triplets were asleep, Daniel found Maya in the kitchen making tea. "Thank you," he said simply. "I haven't seen them that happy since. Ever." "They're good kids," Maya said. "They just needed permission to be kids." Over the next week, the triplets transformed. They smiled more, ate better, started talking about their feelings instead of bottling everything up. Emma admitted she missed having a mommy. Jackson said he wished Daddy was home more. Lily, the quietest, whispered that she loved Maya's braids and wanted some too. Maya braided Lily's hair one afternoon, teaching her about their shared heritage, explaining that being black was something beautiful to celebrate. Lily beamed at herself in the mirror, finally seeing beauty reflected back. But despite the emotional progress, the children were still sick, constantly. Another ear infection for Emma. Jackson's mysterious rashes returned. Lily developed a cough that wouldn't go away. Maya started noticing patterns the doctors had missed. The children got worse after eating certain foods. They had trouble breathing in certain rooms of the mansion. Their fevers spiked at specific times. She started keeping detailed notes, times, Symptoms, possible triggers. She cross-referenced everything she'd learned caring for her brother with sickle cell disease. And slowly, terrifyingly, she realized what was wrong. The children weren't just sick, they were being poisoned. Not intentionally, at least she didn't think so, but something in their environment was making them sick. Maybe mold in the walls, maybe chemicals in the cleaning products, maybe something in their food. She needed to investigate, but carefully. If she was wrong, she'd look paranoid. If she was right and said something too soon, whoever or whatever was causing this might cover their tracks. Maya started small. She switched the triplets to organic foods, changed their bedding to hypoallergenic materials, opened windows to air out their rooms, small changes that wouldn't raise suspicion. The children improved slightly, not cured, but better. Then, 2 weeks after Maya started working there, everything fell apart. It was a Tuesday evening. Maya had given the triplets dinner, chicken, rice, and steamed broccoli, all organic, all safe. They'd played afterward, then bath time, then bed, normal routine. Maya was in her room reading when she heard the first scream. She ran down the hall to the nursery. Emma was convulsing in her bed, her body jerking violently. Foam bubbled from her mouth. Her eyes had rolled back. Maya's medical training kicked in immediately. She turned Emma on her side so she wouldn't choke, checked her airway, tried to keep her safe during the seizure. Then Lily started convulsing too. Then Jackson. All 3 triplets, seizing simultaneously, their small bodies in the grip of something terrible. Maya hit the emergency alarm and screamed for help. Staff came running. Someone called 911. Daniel was out of town for a business meeting, but his assistant was calling him frantically. The triplets' seizures stopped, but they didn't wake up. They just lay there, breathing shallow, lips turning blue, completely unresponsive. Maya checked their pulses. Faint but there. She checked their pupils. Unresponsive. She smelled their breath bitter, like almonds. Her blood ran cold. Cyanide poisoning. Someone had poisoned Daniel Montgomery's children with cyanide. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes, but Maya knew that might be too late. Cyanide worked fast. Within minutes, it could cause brain damage or death. The paramedics started working immediately, but they were confused. What happened? What did they eat? I don't know what caused this, Maya said, her mind racing. But I think it's cyanide poisoning. What? How would children get exposed to cyanide? Maya didn't answer because she was already moving. She ran to her room, grabbed her bag, and pulled out something she'd brought from home. Something illegal to have without a prescription. Something she'd gotten from the black market to help her brother during a medical emergency when they couldn't afford the hospital. Hydroxycobalamin, the antidote for cyanide poisoning. Her brother's doctor had prescribed it once when he had a bad crisis, but insurance wouldn't cover it. Maya had found a way to get it anyway, keeping a supply at home just in case. When she'd moved to the mansion, she'd brought it with her, a habit from years of being her brother's medical advocate. She ran back to the nursery. The paramedics were loading the triplets onto stretchers, preparing to transport. Wait, Maya said. Give them this. She held up the vials. The head paramedic's eyes widened. Where did you get hydroxycobalamin? That's hospital-grade medication. Does it matter? If I'm right about cyanide, this will save them. If I'm wrong, it won't hurt them. We're losing time. The paramedic hesitated. This was completely against protocol. Taking medication from an unlicensed source could get him fired, possibly arrested. But 3 children were dying in front of him. And if this woman was right about cyanide, they had minutes at most. He made a decision. How much? Maya calculated doses based on their weight, something she'd learned doing the same for her brother. 5 milligrams per kilogram. Emma's about 15 kilos. Lily's 13. Jackson's 16. The paramedic administered the injections rapidly, 1 for each child. Then they rushed the triplets into the ambulance. Maya rode with them, holding Lily's small hand, praying she'd been right, praying she hadn't just made everything worse. At the hospital, doctors swarmed. Tests were run, blood samples taken. The emergency room became a controlled chaos of medical professionals fighting to save 3 small lives. Daniel arrived 40 minutes later, his private jet having broken speed records to get him home. His face was gray, his eyes wild with fear. What happened? He demanded. Maya told him everything, her suspicions about poisoning, the symptoms, her decision to use the hydroxycobalamin. You gave my children unlicensed medication? Daniel's voice was dangerous. I gave your children the only thing that could save them from cyanide poisoning, Maya said steadily. Sir, someone poisoned your kids. This wasn't an accident. Before Daniel could respond, a doctor emerged from the emergency room. Her face was grim. Mr. Montgomery, your children are stable for now. The hydroxycobalamin appears to have worked. Their levels are improving. But we need to talk about how this happened. How? What happened? Your children ingested cyanide. A significant amount. Enough to kill them. If Miss Brooks hadn't acted immediately with the antidote, all three would likely have died within 20 minutes. The words hit Daniel like a physical blow. Someone had tried to murder his children. Where did it come from? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. We're testing everything. Food, water, medications, toys. The police are on their way. Daniel sank into a chair, his face in his hands. Maya stood nearby, her arms wrapped around herself, trying to process what had just happened. She'd saved 3 lives tonight. But she'd also exposed something dark and deadly hidden in the Montgomery mansion. Someone had tried to kill the triplets. Someone with access to their home, their food, their daily routines. And whoever it was didn't know yet that their plan had failed. 2 hours later, the police arrived with questions. Detectives interviewed everyone: Maya, the staff, the housekeepers, the cook. They collected evidence, took statements, began building a timeline of everything the children had eaten and touched that day. Maya told them about her notes, her suspicions that the children had been sick for a reason. She showed them her detailed logs of symptoms and patterns. Detective Rodriguez, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s, studied the notes carefully. You documented all this? I thought something was wrong. I didn't know it was deliberate poisoning, but I knew it wasn't normal. And the hydroxycobalamin? Where exactly did you get it? Maya took a deep breath. This was where she could get arrested. My younger brother has sickle cell disease. Sometimes he has crises where he needs immediate treatment. I keep emergency medications at home, in case we can't get to a hospital fast enough. I brought some with me when I took this job. That's illegal possession of a controlled substance. Yes, ma'am, it is. Detective Rodriguez studied her. You saved 3 lives tonight with that illegal medication. Yes, ma'am. We'll deal with that later. Right now, I need to know who had access to the children's food tonight. Maya thought carefully. Dinner was prepared by Patricia, the head cook. But the food sits in the warming station for about 30 minutes before I serve it. Anyone on staff could have accessed it during that time. And you served it directly to the children? Yes. I cut it up, made sure it wasn't too hot, and watched them eat. Did you eat any of it? No. I usually eat after the children are in bed. Rodriguez made notes. So the poison was either in the food when it was prepared, or added during that 30-minute window, or somehow placed directly on the children's plates. There's another possibility, Maya said quietly. The poison might not have been in tonight's food at all. Cyanide can be absorbed through skin, especially if mixed into lotions or oils. The triplets had baths right before dinner. I used their regular bath products. Rodriguez's expression sharpened. Show me. They went to the nursery bathroom. Maya pointed out that children's shampoo, soap, body lotion, all expensive, organic, supposedly safe products. The detective bagged everything as evidence. Then Maya remembered something that made her stomach drop. The lotion. Mrs. Cartwright, the previous nanny, she left a special bottle of lotion for the children, said it would help with Jackson's rashes. I used it on all 3 of them tonight after their bath. Where's this bottle? Maya found it in the cabinet. It looked innocent, a white bottle with a handmade label reading, Therapeutic Skin Balm, all natural. Rodriguez bagged it carefully, her face grim. If this tests positive for cyanide, Mrs. Cartwright has a lot of explaining to do. But Maya's mind was racing ahead to something worse. Detective, Mrs. Cartwright retired 2 weeks ago. She's been gone. If the lotion is poisoned, someone else put it there after she left. Or she left it knowing you'd eventually use it. Maya felt sick. Had the previous nanny been slowly poisoning the children for months? Was that why they'd been constantly sick? Why doctors couldn't find anything wrong? But then why would Mrs. Cartwright escalate to a lethal dose right after leaving? It didn't make sense. Unless someone else had replaced the lotion. Someone who wanted the triplets dead and wanted to frame either Mrs. Cartwright or Maya for it. At 3 in the morning, the test results came back. The lotion tested positive for potassium cyanide, enough in one application to kill a child. The fact that Maya had used it on all three meant they'd received triple the lethal dose between them. Without the hydroxycobalamin, they would have all died within 15 minutes. Detective Rodriguez informed Daniel, who looked like he aged 10 years in that moment. "Who?" he asked hoarsely. "Who would do this to my children?" "That's what we're going to find out," Rodriguez promised. "But Mr. Montgomery, until we catch whoever did this, your children aren't safe. Someone wants them dead. Someone with access to your home." Daniel made a decision immediately. "We're leaving. Tonight. I have a secure property upstate, fully isolated. I'll hire private security. We'll take only essential staff, people I absolutely trust." He looked at Maya. "You're coming with us. The children need you. I need you." Maya nodded, though fear curled in her stomach. She'd saved the triplets tonight, but someone out there had tried to kill them. And that person was still free, still dangerous, still determined. As dawn broke over the hospital, Daniel made arrangements for the triplets' transfer to the secure property. The children were stable but sedated, blissfully unaware of how close they'd come to death. Maya sat beside their beds, exhausted but unable to rest. She studied each small face, Emma's serious expression, even in sleep, Lily's gentle features, Jackson's strong jawline like his father's. Someone wanted these innocent babies dead, but why? Was it about money? Daniel was a billionaire, the triplets would inherit everything. But who stood to gain from their deaths? Was it about revenge? Had Daniel made enemies in his business dealings? People ruthless enough to target children? Or was it something else entirely? Something Maya hadn't even considered yet? A nurse came in to check vitals. She smiled at Maya kindly. "You should rest. You've been up all night." "I can't," Maya admitted. "What if whoever did this comes back? There are police outside the door. The children are safe here." But Maya knew better. The children had been safe in their own home, and someone had still gotten to them. She pulled out her phone and texted her mother, breaking the news that she couldn't come home for their planned visit this weekend. Her mother would understand, she always did, but Maya felt the ache of missing her family, her siblings, the noisy, crowded apartment that was full of love, despite having nothing. A soft sound made her look up. Emma was awake, her gray eyes open and confused. "Maya," she whispered. Maya rushed to her bedside. "I'm here, sweetie. I'm right here. I had a bad dream. There was a monster." "No monsters here," Maya said gently, though her heart broke at the irony. The real monster was still out there. "You're safe. I promise. Will you stay with me? Always." Emma's small hand gripped Maya's tightly, and Maya felt the weight of that promise settle on her shoulders. She would protect these children, no matter what it cost her, no matter what dangers lay ahead. But as hospital machines beeped steadily in the quiet room, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. Because somewhere in the darkness, someone was realizing their plan had failed. The triplets were still alive. And whoever that person was, they wouldn't give up easily. The secure property upstate looked more like a fortress than a home. High walls surrounded the estate. Security cameras covered every angle, and armed guards patrolled the perimeter 24 hours a day. Daniel had moved his children here within 48 hours of the poisoning, bringing only 3 staff members he'd personally vetted: Maya, Patricia, the cook, and Thomas, the head of security. The triplets were recovering physically, but emotionally they were fragile, clinging to Maya constantly, afraid to let her out of their sight. On the third night at the safe house, Maya was tucking them into bed when Jackson whispered something that made her blood freeze. "Miss Maya, why does Grandma Helen want us to go to heaven with Mommy?" Maya's hand stopped mid-motion as she processed what the little boy had just said. Mrs. Cartwright, Grandma Helen, as the children called her, had said something to them about dying. But when? And why would a nanny ever say something so disturbing to the children in her care? Unless it wasn't just words. Unless she'd been preparing them for what she planned to do. Maya kept her voice calm, despite the panic racing through her veins. "When did Grandma Helen say that, sweetheart?" Jackson's green eyes were confused, innocent. "Lots of times. She said Mommy was lonely in heaven and we'd be happier there with her. She said it would be like going to sleep and waking up somewhere beautiful." Emma nodded from her bed. She told us not to tell Daddy because it would make him sad. Lily, the quietest triplet, added softly. She gave us special vitamins. Said they would help us be ready. Maya felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. Special vitamins. Mrs. Cartwright had been dosing the children with something for months, probably small amounts of poison that made them chronically sick but never quite enough to kill them, building up to that final, lethal dose in the lotion. Where are these vitamins now? Maya asked, trying to keep the urgency out of her voice. Grandma Helen took them when she left, Emma said. She said we didn't need them anymore because we'd be with Mommy soon. Maya's mind raced. She needed to tell Daniel immediately, but she also needed to keep the children calm. They'd been through enough trauma. You know what? Maya said gently. Grandma Helen was confused. Your mommy would want you here, growing big and strong, living your best lives. That's what makes people in heaven happy, knowing the people they love are happy too. Really? Lily asked hopefully. Really? And those vitamins? They weren't good for you. I'm glad they're gone. Maya kissed each child's forehead. Now sleep tight. I'll be right outside your door all night. Nothing bad will happen. I promise. Once the triplets were asleep, Maya found Daniel in his office, surrounded by security monitors and police reports. He looked exhausted, older than his 42 years, the weight of almost losing his children crushing him. We need to talk, Maya said quietly, closing the door behind her. She told him everything the children had revealed. With each word, Daniel's face grew darker, his hands clenching into fists on the desk. She was grooming them for death, he said, his voice hollow. Helen was preparing my children to die and making them think it was something beautiful. Something they shouldn't tell me about. The police need to know this immediately, Maya said. This is evidence of premeditation. She'd been planning this for months. Daniel called Detective Rodriguez right away, putting her on speaker. The detective listened grimly to Maya's report, asking detailed questions about exactly what the children had said. This changes everything, Rodriguez said. We've been searching for Mrs. Cartwright since the poisoning, but she's vanished. Apartment cleared out, bank accounts emptied, phone disconnected. But this information about the vitamins and the grooming language, that's evidence of first-degree attempted murder, possibly even serial attempts over months. Why would she do this? Daniel asked, his voice breaking. Helen worked for us for 2 years. She seemed devoted to the children. We're still investigating her background, Rodriguez said. But Mr. Montgomery, there's something you should know. Helen Cartwright isn't her real name. Silence filled the office. What? Daniel breathed. Her real name is Helen Morrison. And she was married to Richard Morrison, one of your former business partners. The one who died by suicide 3 years ago after your company merger fell through and he lost everything. Maya watched the color drain from Daniel's face. Richard Morrison, he repeated slowly. He blamed me for the company collapse. He sent threatening emails, showed up at my office screaming. I had to get a restraining order, but he killed himself before anything else happened. I thought it was over. It wasn't over for his widow, Rodriguez said grimly. She blamed you for his death. And apparently, she decided to make you suffer the same way she suffered by taking away the people you loved most. The pieces clicked into place with horrible clarity. Helen Morrison had been Victoria's friend years ago, back before Richard's business collapsed. She'd shown up at Victoria's funeral, offering condolences, offering to help with the children. Daniel had been so broken by grief that he'd accepted without question. He'd welcomed his enemy into his home, given her access to his children for 2 years, never knowing she was slowly destroying them. She killed my wife, Daniel said suddenly, his voice sharp with realization. Victoria's death during childbirth, the complications, the sudden hemorrhaging. What if that wasn't natural? What if Helen did something? Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. We'll need to exhume the body for toxicology testing. But Mr. Montgomery, if you're right, this woman has been systematically destroying your family for years, and she's still out there. After the call ended, Daniel sat in stunned silence. Maya wanted to comfort him but didn't know how. What comfort was there when you realized you'd unknowingly employed your wife's murderer to care for your children? I should have known, Daniel finally said. I should have seen it. She was good at hiding, Maya said gently. That's what predators do. They blend in. They make you trust them. But you saw it, Daniel said, looking at her with something like wonder. You've only been here a few weeks, and you figured out something was wrong. You kept notes, you investigated. You saved them. I didn't know it was deliberate poisoning until it was almost too late. But you cared enough to pay attention. That's what saved them. Daniel stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the dark grounds. Helen took everything from me, my wife, 2 years of my children's health, my peace of mind. And I paid her for it. I trusted her with the most precious things in my life. She hasn't won, Maya said firmly. Your children are alive. They're healing. They're going to be okay. Because of you. The way he said it made Maya's heart skip. There was something in his voice beyond gratitude. Something deeper, more complicated. I'm just doing my job, she said quietly. No, Daniel turned to face her. You're doing far more than any job description. You love them, really love them. I see it in how you are with them, patient when Jackson has nightmares, creative with Emma's endless questions, gentle with Lily's shyness. You're not their nanny, you're… He stopped, seeming to realize he was about to say something he couldn't take back. I'm what? Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before Daniel could answer, Thomas burst into the office without knocking. His face was urgent, concerned. Sir, we have a problem. The perimeter cameras just caught movement near the east fence. Someone's been watching the house. Daniel's entire demeanor shifted instantly from vulnerable to commanding. Show me. They crowded around the security monitors. Thomas pulled up the footage from 20 minutes earlier. A figure in dark clothing had approached the fence, stayed hidden in the shadows, and appeared to be photographing the property before disappearing back into the woods. Can you enhance the image? Daniel asked. Thomas worked the controls, zooming in, clearing up the pixelation. The figure's face became visible for just 3 frames. Helen Morrison, looking directly at the camera with cold, calculated eyes. She knows we're here, Maya breathed. She knows the children survived. Guards are sweeping the perimeter now, Thomas said. But she's gone, vanished into the woods. Daniel pulled out his phone, calling Detective Rodriguez back. She's here. Helen was just outside our property. She's still hunting my children. We're sending units immediately, Rodriguez said. Mr. Montgomery, you need to consider relocating again. If she's found you once, she'll find you again. I'm not running anymore, Daniel said, his voice hard. I'm done hiding. I want her caught. I want her in prison. And I want my children safe. After hanging up, he turned to Thomas. Triple the guard rotation. No one gets within 100 yards of this house without being detected and detained. Install more cameras. Motion sensors, whatever it takes. Yes, sir. Thomas left to implement the new security measures. Maya and Daniel were alone again, the weight of the threat pressing down on them. She's obsessed, Maya said. She won't stop until she finishes what she started. Then we need to finish it first, Daniel replied. We need to catch her before she tries again. How? She's been evading police for days. She's smart, careful. She's also arrogant, Daniel interrupted. She thinks she's smarter than everyone. That's her weakness. She came here tonight to taunt us, to show us she's still in control. But she made a mistake. She showed herself on camera. Now we know she's in this area. Maya thought about this. What if we give her what she wants? What do you mean? She wants you to suffer. She wants to see your pain. What if we make her think she's winning? Set a trap? Daniel studied her with new respect. You're suggesting we use the children as bait. No, Maya said firmly. We'd never risk them. But we could make Helen think they're vulnerable, fake a medical emergency. Spread word that one of the triplets has relapsed and is being rushed to the hospital. She might come out of hiding to watch, to gloat, and we'd be ready for her. They spent the next hour planning with Detective Rodriguez over the phone. The trap would be set for tomorrow night. They'd stage a dramatic ambulance arrival, make it look like Emma was having complications from the poisoning, and have plainclothes officers positioned throughout the area to catch Helen when she inevitably showed up. It was risky, but they were out of safe options. That night, Maya checked on the triplets one final time before trying to sleep. All 3 were peaceful, unaware of the danger still circling them. She stood in their doorway, watching them breathe, feeling the fierce protectiveness that had taken root in her heart. She thought about her own family, her 5 siblings back home, her mother working endless hours, her brother with sickle cell disease. She'd left them to take this job, to make money to help support them. She'd expected to be just a maid, just hired help. Instead, she'd found herself in the middle of a murder plot, fighting to save 3 children who'd somehow become hers to protect. "You should sleep." Daniel's voice came from behind her. Maya turned. He stood in the hallway, tired but alert, keeping vigil just like her. "I can't," she admitted. "Every time I close my eyes, I see them turning blue, convulsing. I see what almost happened. But it didn't happen. You stopped it. This time, but Helen's still out there. What if she gets through the security? What if—" "She won't," Daniel said firmly, stepping closer. "I won't let her. You won't let her. We're going to end this." In the dim hallway light, with the triplets sleeping innocently behind them, something shifted between Maya and Daniel. He reached out, gently touching her arm. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't been here," he said quietly. "If I'd hired someone else, someone who didn't care enough to notice the patterns, to investigate, to keep that medication on hand, my children would be dead. You saved them, Maya. You saved everything that matters to me. Anyone would have." "No," he interrupted. "Not anyone. You. There's something special about you. Something I didn't expect to find." Maya's breath caught. This was her employer. A billionaire. A man from a completely different world. This couldn't happen. It was inappropriate, unprofessional, impossible. But the way he was looking at her made her heart race anyway. Before either could speak again, alarms shrieked through the house. Security breach. Multiple points. Thomas's voice came over the intercom, urgent and controlled. "Sir, we have 4 intruders breaching the north and west perimeters simultaneously. They're armed. This is not a drill. Get the children to the safe room. Now." Helen hadn't come alone. She'd brought help. And she was done watching from the shadows. This was the attack they'd feared. And it was happening right now. Maya's training from years of emergency situations with her sick brother kicked in instantly. She ran into the nursery, scooping up Lily while Daniel grabbed Emma and Jackson. The children woke, confused, and crying as alarms screamed through the house. Gunshots cracked somewhere outside, sharp, terrifying sounds that made Emma scream. Daniel's face was white with fear, but his movements were steady as he rushed his family toward the safe room hidden behind the library bookshelf. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs as they ran through the dark hallways, the children clinging to them desperately. Thomas's voice continued over the intercom, giving updates. Intruders were cutting through the fence. Security guards were engaged. Police were 7 minutes away. 7 minutes that felt like an eternity. They reached the library, and Daniel pulled the specific books that triggered the hidden door mechanism. The bookshelf swung open, revealing a reinforced steel room stocked with supplies, communication equipment, and its own air filtration system. But as they rushed inside, Maya saw something that made her stomach drop. The safe room security panel was already blinking red. Someone had tampered with it from the inside. They'd been betrayed by someone in the house, and Helen Morrison was always one step ahead. "The lock's been compromised," Daniel said, staring at the blinking panel in horror. "Someone accessed it earlier today. We're not safe here." "Thomas?" Maya asked, not wanting to believe it. "Or Patricia," Daniel said grimly. "Helen could have gotten to either of them, paid them off, blackmailed them, I don't know. But someone on the inside has been helping her." More gunshots outside, closer now. The children were crying, terrified. Jackson buried his face in Daniel's shoulder while Emma and Lily clung to Maya's legs. "The panic room in the basement," Maya said suddenly. "The one you showed me during the tour. Does Helen know about it?" Daniel's eyes lit up. "No. It was installed after she left. She'd have no reason to know it exists." They ran again, this time down the back staircase toward the basement. The house felt like a maze of shadows and danger. Every sound made Maya's heart jump. Was that footsteps? Was that a door opening? The basement was cold and dark. Daniel led them through the storage area to a wine cellar, then behind a false wall to a small, reinforced room. This one was more basic than the library's safe room. Just a locked steel door, some emergency supplies, and a phone line that connected directly to 911. They piled inside, and Daniel locked the heavy door behind them. The sounds of chaos upstairs became muffled, distant. "Daddy, I'm scared," Lily whimpered. "I know, baby. But we're safe now. The police are coming." Maya held the 3 children close, trying to keep them calm while her own fear threatened to overwhelm her. She could hear footsteps above them now, heavy boots moving through the house. Searching. Daniel grabbed the emergency phone and called 911, giving them their location and status. 4 armed intruders. Inside the house now. We're barricaded in a basement panic room. How long until backup arrives? 3 minutes, sir. Stay where you are. Do not open the door for anyone, except identified police officers. 3 minutes. 180 seconds. It felt like forever. Then they heard Thomas's voice calling from above. Mr. Montgomery. Sir, it's clear. The intruders fled when they heard police sirens. It's safe to come out. Daniel's hand hovered over the lock. Maya grabbed his arm. Don't. We don't know if that's really Thomas or if he's compromised. We wait for confirmed police. But what if he's telling the truth? What if he's injured and needs help? Then he'll survive 3 more minutes. Your children won't survive if this is a trap. Daniel nodded, his jaw tight. They waited in tense silence, listening to footsteps moving above them, doors opening and closing. Someone was definitely searching the house methodically. Then a new voice. Detective Rodriguez. Mr. Montgomery, this is Detective Rodriguez. We've secured the premises. 4 suspects fled into the woods. We're in pursuit. You can come out now. How do we know it's really you? Daniel called back. Last time we spoke, you told me about your wife's possible exhumation. I told you Helen Morrison's real identity. The call was at 11:47 p.m. That was specific enough. Daniel slowly unlocked the door. Maya kept the children behind her protectively as Daniel pushed it open. Detective Rodriguez stood there with 2 uniformed officers, all with weapons drawn but pointed down. Relief flooded Daniel's face. Are you all hurt? Rodriguez asked. No, scared, but unhurt. They emerged from the panic room. Upstairs, the house was chaos. Broken windows, furniture overturned, security equipment smashed. But no one had been killed. The security guards had injuries, but nothing life-threatening. Thomas appeared, bloodied from a head wound, but alive. Sir, I'm so sorry. They came from 4 directions at once, military-style coordination. We held them off as long as we could. Where's Patricia? Daniel asked. A heavy silence fell. We found her, Rodriguez said quietly, in the kitchen. She'd been tied up and gagged. Whoever did this subdued her hours ago, probably right after dinner. So Patricia wasn't the traitor, which meant the breach had come from somewhere else. How did they know about the safe room behind the library? Daniel demanded. That's not on any public blueprints. Rodriguez pulled out an evidence bag containing a small device. We found this in the library. A listening device. Military grade. Someone's been monitoring everything you say in this house for at least a week. Maya felt sick. Helen had heard everything. Their plans, their conversations, their trap for tomorrow night. She'd known exactly where they'd run when attacked. There are probably more devices throughout the house, Rodriguez continued. We're sweeping now, but Mr. Montgomery, you can't stay here. This location is completely compromised. Where can we go? Daniel asked, exhausted. She found us once, she'll find us again. I have an idea, Maya said quietly. Somewhere she'd never think to look. An hour later, they were driving through the dark streets of the Bronx. Daniel looked completely out of place in this neighborhood expensive car, designer clothes, the whole billionaire aura. But Maya knew these streets. She'd grown up here. They pulled up to a run-down apartment building. Graffiti covered the walls. The elevator was broken. But the people here were good, honest, and most importantly, they protected their own. Maya's mother opened the door to their 3rd-floor apartment, her face shocked, but immediately welcoming. Maya, baby, what? Mama, I need help. Can we stay here tonight? Maybe a few days? Her mother looked at Daniel, at the 3 exhausted children, and didn't hesitate. Of course. Come in, come in. The apartment was tiny, 3 rooms, for what had been a family of 7. But it was warm, lived in, full of love. Maya's siblings crowded around, curious about the visitors. Everyone, this is Mr. Montgomery and his children, Emma, Lily, and Jackson, Maya introduced. They're going to stay with us for a little while. Her youngest brother, Devin, who was 10 and living with sickle cell disease, immediately approached Jackson. Cool pajamas. You like superheroes? Jackson nodded shyly. Me too. Want to see my collection? Just like that, the children started to relax. Maya's siblings drew them into games and stories, treating them like family rather than weird rich kids who'd shown up in the middle of the night. Daniel stood awkwardly in the small living room, clearly overwhelmed. Maya's mother pressed a cup of tea into his hands. "Sit," she commanded in that voice mothers have that you don't argue with. "You look like you haven't slept in days." "Ma'am, I appreciate your hospitality, but I can't ask you to." "You're not asking," Maya asked, "and what my daughter needs, she gets, Mrs." Brooks studied him with sharp eyes. "You're the man she's been working for, the one whose children she saved." "Yes, ma'am." "Then you're family now. That's how we do things here. You protect ours, we protect yours." Daniel's eyes grew suspiciously bright. This woman who had nothing was offering him everything that mattered: safety, acceptance, belonging. That night, the triplets slept in Maya's old room with her younger sisters. Daniel got the couch. Maya and her mother talked quietly in the kitchen while preparing late-night sandwiches for everyone. "This is dangerous. Bringing them here," her mother said, not accusing, just stating facts. "If this woman finds them—" "She won't," Maya said firmly. "She's looking for billionaire hiding places, secure compounds, private estates. She'd never think to look in a Bronx apartment building. We're invisible here." Her mother studied her daughter's face. "You love those children." "It wasn't a question." Maya nodded. "They've become mine somehow. In just a few weeks, they've become mine." "And their father?" Maya's cheeks warmed. "Mama. Don't mama me. I see how he looks at you. How you look at him." "That's complicated, baby." "I know, he's my employer. He's a billionaire. I'm just—" "You're a woman who saved his children's lives," her mother interrupted. "Don't you dare say just about yourself. You're brilliant, caring, strong. Any man would be lucky to have you." "Even a billionaire?" Her mother smiled. "Especially a billionaire. Those people forget what really matters," you'd remind him. The next morning, Detective Rodriguez came by with updates. She'd brought Detective Williams, a younger man who specialized in organized crime. "We found Helen Morrison's base of operations," Rodriguez said, "an abandoned warehouse in Jersey. She'd been planning this for months. Maps of all your properties, surveillance photos, detailed schedules." "Did you catch her?" Daniel asked urgently. "No. She cleared out before we got there. But we did find something interesting." Rodriguez pulled out a photo. "Recognize this man?" The photo showed a man in his 30s, military build, cold eyes. Daniel studied it and shook his head. "His name is Cole Brennan, former Special Forces, dishonorably discharged for excessive violence. He's Helen Morrison's nephew. We believe he organized last night's attack." "So Helen has military backing," Maya said, her stomach sinking. "That's why they were so coordinated." "Exactly. But here's the thing, Brennan has a pattern. He's methodical, he doesn't give up. If Helen hired him to kill your children, he'll keep trying until he succeeds or he's caught." "Then catch him," Daniel said. "We're trying. But Mr. Montgomery, he's very good at disappearing. And Helen has been financing him. Well, we tracked over $300,000 transferred from her accounts to his over the last 2 months." Daniel ran his hands through his hair in frustration. "So, what do we do? Hide forever? Wait for them to find us?" "Actually," Detective Williams spoke up, "we have a proposition. We want to use you as bait, controlled bait, in a situation we can monitor and control." "Absolutely not," Maya said immediately. "You're not putting those children in danger." "Not the children," Williams clarified. "Just Mr. Montgomery. We leak information that he's attending a charity gala tomorrow night at the Plaza Hotel. High profile, lots of security, lots of witnesses. Helen won't be able to resist. She'll want to see him suffering publicly. And when she shows up, we grab her." "And if something goes wrong," Maya challenged, "we'll have 50 plainclothes officers in position, SWAT teams on standby. Mr. Montgomery will wear a bulletproof vest and have a tracker. The moment we spot Helen or Brennan, we move in." Daniel considered this. "What about my children while I'm playing bait?" "They stay here," Rodriguez said. "Hidden, safe, with Maya." "I don't like putting civilians at risk," Daniel started. "I'm not asking permission," Maya interrupted. "Those children are my responsibility. I'm keeping them safe, whether you like it or not." Despite the tension, Daniel smiled slightly. "You're pretty fierce when it comes to them." "They're mine," Maya said simply. and didn't flinch when she realized she'd said it out loud. The plan was set. Tomorrow night, Daniel would attend the gala. Maya would stay with the triplets at the apartment, and they'd pray this trap worked better than the last one. That afternoon, Maya played with the children in the small living room, while her siblings taught them card games and showed them how to play dominoes. The triplets were actually laughing, surrounded by kids who treated them like normal people instead of fragile rich kids. Emma hugged Maya suddenly. "I like it here. Everyone's nice." "They are nice," Maya agreed. "This is where I grew up." "It's small," Jackson observed with typical 4-year-old bluntness. "It is," Maya agreed, "but size doesn't matter as much as love, and this place has always had lots of love." Lily looked around thoughtfully. "Our house is big, but it was lonely. Before you came." Maya's heart ached. These children had been surrounded by luxury and starving for affection. "You're not lonely anymore. Promise?" Emma asked. "Promise." That evening, after the children were asleep, Maya found Daniel on the tiny balcony staring at the city lights. She joined him quietly. "Thank you," he said, "for bringing us here, for showing my children what a real home looks like." "This apartment?" "Yes. They've learned more about joy and family in 1 day here than in 2 years in the mansion. Your mother, your siblings, they just opened their arms and took us in. No questions, no judgment, just love. That's how we survive," Maya said simply. "We take care of each other. I want that for my children, not just wealth and privilege. I want them to understand kindness, generosity, real human connection. They will. You're teaching them now by being here, by humbling yourself to accept help." Daniel turned to face her. "Maya, after this is over, after Helen is caught and we're safe, I need to ask you something." "What?" But before he could answer, Maya's phone buzzed. A text from Detective Rodriguez. "Brennan spotted near your mother's building. Evacuate now." Maya's blood turned to ice. He'd found them. Somehow, impossibly, Cole Brennan had tracked them to this apartment. And they had, maybe minutes, before he attacked. Maya and Daniel rushed inside, their hearts pounding with terror. There was no time for explanations, no time for careful planning. Maya shook her mother awake, while Daniel gathered the triplets from the bedroom where they'd been sleeping peacefully moments before. The children woke, confused and frightened, as Maya's siblings scrambled out of bed, sensing the emergency. Maya's mother took control immediately, her voice calm but urgent, as she herded everyone toward the back stairwell. "Move quickly. Stay quiet," she commanded, grabbing Devon's emergency medical bag with one hand and little Lily with the other. They could hear heavy footsteps coming up the front stairs, multiple people, moving fast. Cole Brennan wasn't alone, and he wasn't trying to be subtle anymore. Daniel carried Jackson while Emma clung to Maya's hand, tears streaming down her face. They reached the back exit, just as the apartment door crashed open behind them. A man's voice shouted, "They just left, down the back stairs." The chase was on, and Maya knew with absolute certainty that if Brennan caught them, none of them would survive the night. They burst out of the building into the alley. Maya's mother led them through a route she knew by heart, shortcuts between buildings, through yards, places only locals would know. Behind them, footsteps pounded, getting closer. "This way," Maya's oldest brother, Jerome, said urgently. At 19, he knew these streets even better than Maya. He led them through a narrow gap between 2 buildings, then into the basement of an abandoned warehouse. "Jerome, we can't trap ourselves," Maya started. "Trust me," he said, pulling open a hidden door that led to old subway tunnels. "Urban explorers use these. There's a network that runs under half the Bronx. They'll never find us down here." They descended into darkness. Daniel pulled out his phone for light, but Maya's mother stopped him. "No light. They'll see it. We know these tunnels. Just hold hands and follow." So they moved through pitch blackness, a human chain of terrified adults and children, feeling their way along damp walls. The triplets were remarkably quiet, sensing that silence meant survival. Behind them, voices echoed Brennan's men had found the entrance. "Split up," someone commanded. "Check every tunnel. They can't have gotten far." Jerome led them deeper into the maze of abandoned passages. After what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes, they emerged in the basement of an old church. Father Miguel, who'd known Maya's family for years, was waiting with blankets and concerned eyes. "Police are on their way," he said quietly. "Jerome called me. You're safe here." They collapsed in the church basement, exhausted and shaking. The triplets immediately curled into Maya, seeking comfort. Daniel sat with his head in his hands, the weight of everything finally breaking through his composure. "I almost got your entire family killed," he said to Maya's mother. "I should never have brought this danger to your home." "You brought family who needed help, Mrs. Brooks corrected firmly. "That's never wrong. Evil people doing evil things, that's wrong. You protecting your children, that's right." Detective Rodriguez arrived 30 minutes later with a full tactical team. "We've secured the area." Brennan and his men fled when they heard sirens. "But Mr. Montgomery, we need to end this now. Tomorrow night's operation at the plaza, we're moving it up, tonight, in 3 hours." "That's not enough time," Daniel protested. "It has to be. Helen and Brennan are getting desperate. They're making mistakes. This is our best chance to catch them." Daniel looked at Maya and his children. Emma, Lily, and Jackson had finally fallen asleep in an exhausted pile on the church pew. Maya sitting guard over them, his whole world, right there. "Okay," he said. "Let's finish this." The plan moved quickly. Daniel would appear at a late-night emergency board meeting at his company headquarters, a meeting the police would leak to Helen's known associates. The building would be surrounded by police, SWAT teams positioned on every floor. When Helen or Brennan showed up, they'd be caught in an inescapable trap. Maya wanted to argue, to tell Daniel it was too dangerous, but she knew they were out of options. This had to end tonight. Before Daniel left with the police, he knelt beside his sleeping children. He kissed each small forehead, lingering over them like he was memorizing their faces. Then he turned to Maya. "If something goes wrong—" "Nothing will go wrong," Maya said firmly, though fear clutched her heart. "But if it does, promise me you'll take care of them. Legally adopt them if you have to. Just promise me they'll have you." "Daniel, don't talk like—" "Promise me, Maya." His eyes were intense, desperate. "You're the best thing that ever happened to them. To me. Promise me." "I promise," Maya whispered. "But you're coming back. You hear me? You're coming back to your children." Daniel pulled her into a sudden, fierce hug. Then, before either could think better of it, he kissed her. Not long, not dramatic, just a brief press of lips that said everything words couldn't. "I love you," he said simply. "I know it's fast and crazy and completely inappropriate, but I love you, Maya Brooks. And when this is over, I'm going to ask you properly to be part of our family, not as an employee, as something more." Then he was gone, heading into the night with Detective Rodriguez and a team of armed officers. Maya sat with the sleeping triplets, her heart in her throat, her lips still tingling from that unexpected kiss. Her mother sat beside her, squeezing her hand. "He'll be okay," Mrs. Brooks said. "God didn't bring you all together just to tear you apart now." Hours crawled by. Maya's phone stayed silent. No updates, no news. She tried to pray, but couldn't focus. She tried to sleep, but every sound made her jump. Then, at 2:47 a.m., her phone finally rang. "Detective Rodriguez." "We got them," Rodriguez said, and Maya could hear the smile in her voice. "Both Helen Morrison and Cole Brennan. They walked right into our trap. Helen tried to detonate a bomb in the parking garage, where she thought Daniel's car was parked. We grabbed her before she could trigger it. Brennan was on the roof with a sniper rifle. SWAT took him down non-lethally. And Daniel?" Maya's voice shook. "Safe. Completely safe. He wants to talk to you." Daniel's voice came on the line, thick with emotion. "Maya, we did it. It's over. They're in custody. My children are safe." Maya burst into tears, relief flooding through her so intensely she could barely breathe. "Thank God. Thank God." "Come to the hospital," Daniel said. "I'm fine, just getting checked out as a precaution. Bring the kids. I need to see all of you." At the hospital, the reunion was beautiful chaos. The triplets woke up fully and threw themselves at their father, crying and laughing simultaneously. Daniel held them like he'd never let go, tears streaming down his face. Medical staff confirmed he was fine, just some bruises from where SWAT had tackled him out of precautionary protection when Brennan was spotted on the roof. Detective Rodriguez gave them the full story. Helen Morrison had confessed everything once caught. The poisoning of Victoria during childbirth. She'd been Victoria's midwife and had injected something during delivery that caused the fatal hemorrhaging. The 2 years of slowly poisoning the triplets with contaminated vitamins. The final attempted murder with cyanide in the lotion. All of it revenge for her husband's suicide, which she blamed on Daniel's business decisions. She'll spend the rest of her life in prison, Rodriguez said. Multiple counts of murder, attempted murder, conspiracy. Cole Brennan too. They're never getting out. As dawn broke over the city, Daniel gathered Maya and the triplets together in his hospital room. The children were finally, truly safe. The nightmare was over. I meant what I said earlier, Daniel told Maya, about wanting you to be part of our family. I know this is crazy fast. We've only known each other a few weeks. But Maya, you're already family to my children. And to me. I don't want you to be their nanny. I want you to be their mother. Their real mother. If you'll have us. Maya looked at the 3 small faces watching her hopefully. Emma, Lily, and Jackson, these children who'd somehow become hers in such a short time. She thought about everything they'd been through together. All the danger, and fear, and love. Yes, she said simply. Yes, to all of it. The triplets cheered. Daniel pulled her into his arms, careful of his bruised ribs, and kissed her properly this time. Long and sweet, and full of promise. 6 months later, Maya and Daniel stood in a small chapel, surrounded by both their families. Maya's mother and siblings filled one side. Daniel's business associates and friends filled the other. And right in front, in the first row, sat 3 beautiful children in fancy clothes, Emma, Lily, and Jackson, holding a sign they'd made themselves that said, "Our new mommy." The adoption papers had been finalized the week before. Legally, officially, Maya was now their mother. And today, she was becoming Daniel's wife. As they exchanged vows, Maya thought about how far they'd all come. The triplets were healthy now, truly healthy, no more mysterious illnesses. They attended a good school, had friends, laughed constantly. Emma was becoming brave and outspoken. Lily was discovering her artistic talents. Jackson was curious about everything, asking endless questions about how the world worked. Daniel had stepped back from his company, hiring people he trusted to run the day-to-day operations, while he focused on being present for his children. He coached Jackson's soccer team. He attended Emma's school plays. He sat with Lily while she painted, asking her to explain her creative choices. He'd also established a foundation in Victoria's name that helped families afford medical care for chronically ill children, something Maya had helped him design, thinking of her brother Devon and all the families like hers who struggled to afford treatment. Maya had started a blog about her experiences, writing about trauma, healing, and blended families. It had become surprisingly popular, helping other people navigate similar situations. She was even writing a book. "I do," Daniel said, sliding the ring onto Maya's finger. "I do," Maya replied, her voice strong and sure. "You may kiss the bride," the minister announced with a smile. As they kissed, the triplets cheered loudest of all. Emma threw flower petals in the air. Lily clapped her hands. Jackson shouted, "Finally!" which made everyone laugh. At the reception, Maya's mother pulled her aside. "I'm proud of you, baby. You took a job as a maid and ended up saving 4 lives, those 3 children and their father. You gave them everything they needed most. They saved me too, Mama. They gave me purpose, family, love. That's how it works," her mother said wisely. "We save each other." That night, after the celebration ended and the triplets were asleep in their new house, a beautiful but not ostentatious home that felt warm and lived in, Daniel and Maya sat on their bedroom balcony watching the stars. "Do you ever think about how we met?" Daniel asked. "How you almost didn't take this job?" "I think about it all the time. If I'd chosen differently, if you'd hired someone else." "Don't," Daniel interrupted gently. "We found each other exactly when we needed to. That's what matters." Maya leaned against him, feeling his heartbeat steady and strong. "What happened to us was impossible. A billionaire and a maid falling in love while fighting to save 3 dying children from a murderer. It sounds like a movie." "Best movie I've ever lived," Daniel said, kissing her temple. "And the sequel's going to be even better." "What sequel?" Daniel smiled mysteriously. "The one where we all live happily ever after, where the triplets grow up strong and healthy, where we maybe add to our family someday." "Daniel Montgomery, are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that our story isn't over. It's just beginning." and I can't wait to see what happens next." From inside the house, they heard a small voice. "Mommy, I had a bad dream." It was Emma. Maya stood immediately. Daniel, right behind her. They went together to comfort their daughter, to chase away nightmares, to remind her she was safe and loved. As Maya held Emma and sang softly until the little girl fell back asleep, she realized this was everything she'd ever wanted. Not wealth or status or luxury. Just this, a family who loved each other, who'd fought through darkness together and chosen each other every single day. The triplets weren't dying anymore, they were thriving, and so was everyone who loved them. Remember, real family isn't about blood or money. It's about who shows up when life gets hard. It's about choosing to love even when it's dangerous. It's about protecting each other, healing together, and building something beautiful from broken pieces. And sometimes, the people who save us are the ones we least expect. The ones brave enough to do remarkable things when the world needs heroes most.